What's going on, internet? Farah Hashim checking in from Flick Refinery, and today I need to talk to my Facetune professionals, my snapseed professionals. I need to talk to the professionals who know how to take their selfies and they know how to bring it into these apps. They smooth their skin, they remove the blemishes, they sharpen the eyes, they do different color work with filters and things like that, because I don't think you realize just how close that work you're doing on your phone is to the work that professionals do in Photoshop. So today we're going to look into the fact that you already have the process that took me years to figure out in terms of retouching. You already know that process. It's just time for you to take your work a little bit more serious. Let's move away from the cell phone and let's get it onto these computers so that we can produce large file sizes and great images that we can then take and send to brands, or we can add to our portfolio, and just building a new skill set that can actually pay us some money. So we're going to get into it today. Thanks for tuning in. Alright, so we're going to jump right into the picture on Photoshop, and let's look at that process. The process that you're already doing is very close to what I'm doing in Photoshop. So some of y'all should be getting excited because it's time to get what you're doing on the phone out of the phone, because I can't utilize something that's made and that's small and that's resized for an iPhone screen. Let's say if you wanted to do more work with a brand, or you just wanted to use the photo in a bigger medium than on the cell phones, we got to learn how to do this retouch, and it's not as hard as you're thinking. So let's look at it. All right, off the bat, this is a picture that I took with Zan actually last week. It's a cool picture, right? Zan has hit me with a cool pose, but right off the bat, I'm noticing I don't like the attention that this is drawing. So boom, look, we got different things, just like how you'd be using your finger and kind of drawing over objects or different pimples and things on your face. It's the same thing in Photoshop. We got a tool called the spot healing brush, and you can literally just draw, and it thinks about it and it starts to take things away, right? So this is also what, so I'll just fast forward a little bit. That's how I kind of cleaned it up initially. And then also, let's come in on the face, right? We want to be able to apply these same things that we're doing on our selfies. So again, that same spot healing brush, really, you can utilize it on the little bumps, the little things that you don't want to see. We're definitely going to leave this mole here because it's a part of her, but let's say you didn't want it. The click of a button, I'm not even using my editing tab, I'm just clicking on the mouse pad. It's the same process. So I'm pretty sure what's going on is they've seen how photo editing is done in a professional piece of equipment like Photoshop, and they say, yo, we're going to make it so that people can do it with their apps. Now let's keep moving. So after I've done my retouch and I've removed the different things, right? So now we're starting to get a little bit cleaner image. The next thing is that skin smoothing. That's where I ended up when I smoothed the skin out. Instead of just using a filter and just applying a filter and kind of smoothing everything out, in Photoshop, what you're able to do is go in and edit each and every little detail. So basically, if we look at this in black and white, I usually use a black and white layer to kind of show me exactly what I'm doing. In Photoshop, the same thing here. I'm going in and I'm just looking at the differences here. The differences in color is very minute, but it makes a big difference at the end of the retouch. And what we're doing is just cleaning that up. Just cleaning it up. And this is all to taste. This is all to your specific style. But the point is, this is non-destructive. So basically, I can come back and undo it. You know, I can undo my blemish removal. I can add in more if I wanted to touch up more. This is just how I wanted to leave the image. And then what was that next thing that was big? A lot of y'all like to do it. We like to pop the highlights. We like to make the shadows deeper. So I was really surprised at how good Facetune does that. I should be real. I might even start using it on some of my selfies. But the point is, we want to be able to take this and use it on bigger stages, right? We want to send this to the brand and say, hey, look what I did. Or you know, you can use this picture of me with your product or your service, and basically now you're having a different conversation about how you're presenting yourself. You're not just taking selfies, you're actually making pieces of content that people you want to work with can use on their promotional campaign. So I think this kind of information will make you very dangerous. But let's keep going in the process, right? So We started our skin smoothing. Boom. Now we're getting into our highlights and our shadows. Let's back up a little bit here so we can see. So we've done our skin smoothing. We're popping in our highlights and shadows, and I'll show you before and after. Again, this is all to taste. I personally, with this look, we're kind of going for like, it's a little bit like an e-girl aesthetic. I wanted it to be a little bit almost like pushing towards like a digital art form look versus just like a basic photo. So boom, I went heavy with the highlights and the shadows. And now here's where things really start to change in terms of what you're doing on those apps versus what you can do in Photoshop. I'm able to actually change and modify every single color layer or every single color that's present in the picture. This is powerful because color grading specifically for me was one of the things that really started to change the way my pictures looked. I think it's a way for you to actually step ahead and move a little bit different than everybody else is doing, because the color work that you do, and let's look at the before and after this, it just changes the whole vibe of what you're doing. It changes everything about what the image is saying and looking like. So now we're starting to cook. We're starting to get there. Now we got our colors going. Again, I always want my images to pop. So now we're going to go in and create some separation between the subject, which is Zan, in the background. So boom, now we've done our color grading. We started to manipulate the photo a little bit. Again, we're just adding layer on layer, and all of this inside of Photoshop is non-destructive. We can go back and change any piece of it if we want to. I start to separate my subject from the background. I start to do different things like change the levels of the lighting between what is on Zan or what's on your model and what's in the background. And the cool part about each one of these, everything is adjustable. Everything is fully adjustable, so you can overdo it a little bit, and then you just come up and you lower your opacity. You just lower your slider, and basically you can fine tune it to the way you want. So for this, now you can start to see that the image is really starting to pop. Zan has highlights on her face. The colors are changing. I've even done a little bit of work of making sure the colors on her and the colors that are on the wall and on the floor are a little bit different, creating that dynamic look. The cool part about what I saw on that app was you are actually able to go in and just sharpen on the eye with your finger. I was a little bit impressed with that. Same thing here, same process. I'm going in and I'm applying different filters, and I'm applying different filters on different layers to achieve that same look. So I wanted her eyes to pop a little bit more. I'm just adding a little bit of light. I'm adding a little bit of detail on the eye. And then now, once I've done this part of the process, this is where I really start to have fun with it. Based on whatever I think or feel about how I'm looking at this image, for me, this is where we can really start to add our own styles and get even more creative. I like to go and add more color, more dimension. So this layer here, I've actually just taken it and adjusted and tweaked the colors even more. I kind of look at each photo. You kind of start on a basic level and you start to fine tune it a little bit, you refine it, and then the more you build on it, the more little pieces you make, you notice that it makes a bigger impact in the end. Now we're coming to the home stretch. Now I'm doing even more color work, just telling more of that story. As you can see now, Zan is really starting to look a lot different herself. The highlights and everything are popping, and there's also, you can notice that the background here, it's just a different hue. It's a different color from what we're seeing on the model. Always more dimension, always just trying to pull out the best out of the image. Now that we've done our work on the face, we've done our work on the skin, we've done our work in the background with the colors, now it's time to sharpen it and basically export it. So I have a layer here for sharpening. It's another filter inside of Photoshop that can be dialed down exactly how you want. You can even draw it in on certain areas, but I just put a basic sharpening layer on it. Now we have a final image, right? Now we got this thing to where we want it to be. Let's look at it before and after. Before and after. Now you should be able to really start to see that the same principles that you likely are already using on these apps, this is the same things that you could be doing on the laptop. You shouldn't be afraid of it. The biggest thing for me right now is this file is a raw file still. I can export this and have it published on a billboard. I can take this and send it in for editorial submissions, whatever. So that's the key difference in what you're doing. Like, the stuff on the phone is dope, I'm surprised half the time, but usually when I scroll in, like when you pinch and you move in on that picture, you can see, oh yeah, the image starts to break up a little bit. That's just because, you know, those apps that we're using, as cool as they are, they were made for this. They're made for the gram, they're made for iPhone. But we want to be able to do whatever we want with our work. So don't be afraid to check out Photoshop. All right, so I want y'all to share this video with your best Snapseed professional friend. If they dope on Visco, if they dope on these apps that they're using on these phones, send them this video and show them that process that they've learned to use on the phone can be applied right here on the computer in Photoshop. Only thing that you really need outside of having a laptop in Photoshop is one of these editing tablets that comes and they give you one of these editing pens. So instead of using our finger, I'm using this tablet and I'm drawing each and every detail that I want to retouch. It's a lot more precise, and honestly it's a lot of fun. So I thought this video was helpful. I think that we should have more discussion about what we're using. Like I didn't even know till this morning about Facetune or Snapseed, but really photographer and model, we're doing a lot of the same things. It's just we don't have this open discussion about it. And I see a lot more models being able to sit in their room and do a full editorial shoot with this knowledge. All you need is the basics. You need the basics in your spirit. You already have the creativity. It's just getting past, you know, the fear of not knowing or the fear of not being able to do something. I was amazed by what y'all are already doing. So make sure you tune in again, hit all the notification bells, and tune in with me on the channel. Each video, I want to take us deeper and deeper into this creative process, into how I work and how my mind works. And I'll see you in the next video.